Chapter 5. The Creative Imagination. What if the world you see isn't the real world at all, but a dream, not a fantasy, not an illusion in the cheap sense, but a living creation of your own mind, woven together from memory, expectation, and imagination? Alan Watts loved to say, "We do not come into this world, we come out of it, like leaves from a tree." And if you take that seriously, then everything you experience is not just happening to you, it's happening through you. Imagination as the painter of reality. Close your eyes for a moment and picture your favorite place in the world. Notice the colors, the textures, the smell of the air. And now open your eyes. The place you imagined isn't there physically, but the feeling it created is real. This is the power of imagination. It shapes how you feel, and how you feel shapes how you see the world. The mind is like a projector, casting images onto the screen of reality. The outer world may supply the shapes, but your inner world supplies the colors. We see what we believe. Watts often pointed out that perception isn't neutral. You don't just see reality, you interpret it. If you believe the world is dangerous, you'll spot danger everywhere. And if you believe it's full of opportunity, you'll spot openings where others see walls. Your imagination quietly fills in the blanks. It turns a glance into a judgment, a coincidence into a sign, a stranger into either a threat or a friend. And this is why two people can live in the same city, work in the same office, even sit in the same cafe, and live in two completely different worlds. In Eastern philosophy, there's the idea that the universe is like a great dreamer, and we are all characters in its dream. But here's the twist Watts loved. The dreamer isn't someone else, the dreamer is you. This doesn't mean you can snap your fingers and change every detail of life at will, but it does mean you have a creative role in the unfolding of reality. Every thought, every expectation, every image you hold shapes the way the dream plays out for you. This isn't escaping reality. Some people hear, you create your reality and imagine it's about living in denial, pretending everything's perfect. Watts would shake his head at that. True imagination isn't about ignoring what's there. It's about seeing what else is possible. It's the difference between walking into an empty room and saying, "There's nothing here," or walking in and imagining, "This could be a studio, a sanctuary, a dance floor." The room hasn't changed, the possibilities have. Here's where it gets interesting. Imagination doesn't just shape perception. Perception shapes imagination. It's a feedback loop. The images in your mind affect what you notice in the world, and what you notice feeds back into the images you carry. If you picture yourself as unlucky, you'll spot evidence of bad luck everywhere. But if you imagine yourself as capable, magnetic, and open to good fortune, your mind will start collecting evidence to prove it's true. This is why the inner movie matters so much. It becomes the script you live by. Watts wasn't big on rigid visualization exercises, but he did encourage play. The more playfully you use your imagination, the less resistance you feel, and the more natural the changes seem. Next time you're walking through your city or town, imagine it's a set in a movie where you're the lead character. Not in an arrogant way, but in a curious way. How would the lighting look? What kind of soundtrack would be playing? Who would step into the scene next? You'll find that this small shift changes your posture, your mood, and the way people respond to you, as if you've stepped into a slightly different version of reality. When you play, you bypass the part of your mind that says, "This is unrealistic." You give yourself permission to explore, to try on new roles, to imagine without needing proof. Watts would remind us that the universe itself is playful, that it didn't create galaxies and waterfalls and dolphins out of necessity, but out of pure expression, To use your imagination is to join in that cosmic play. Tonight, when you're drifting towards sleep, ask yourself, if my life is a dream I'm dreaming right now, what would I like to dream next? Not as a demand, not as a desperate wish, but as a creative suggestion to the dreamer within you. And then you wake up, carry that suggestion into your day. Let your imagination tint the edges of your reality, and watch how the dream begins to shift. Because once you realize you're not just walking through the world, but painting it as you go, you start to wonder just how vivid, how beautiful, and how extraordinary this waking dream could become. Chapter 6. Unity and Interconnection. The Self as the Cosmos. What if you're not in the universe at all? What if you are the universe, playing the part of a person for a little while? Alan Watts loved this idea, not as a poetic metaphor, but as a literal truth. He would lean in, smile, and say, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at itself." The moment you really let that sink in, the idea of being separate, a lonely fragment in an indifferent cosmos, begins to dissolve. You start to see that the self and the whole are not two things. They never were. From the day we're born, we're taught to draw lines. This is me, and that is not me. My body ends here. My mind is mine. The tree outside is separate, and the river, the sky, other people, all of it, out there. But Watts pointed out something we overlook. These lines are imaginary. You cannot have self without other, just as you cannot have figure without background. They arise together as one process. The ocean and the wave. One of his favorite metaphors was the ocean and a wave. A wave might say, "I am separate, I am individual," and in a sense that's true. It has its own shape, its own movement. But it cannot exist without the ocean. The wave is the ocean expressing itself in a certain form for a moment before returning to the whole. We are like that wave. We appear, live out our curve of existence, and return to the vastness we came from, without ever having left it in the first place. When you see yourself as separate, life can feel like a battle. You against the world. But when you realize you are the world, you stop fighting it. You understand that the same intelligence that grows forests, spins planets, and shapes clouds is the same intelligence moving your breath, beating your heart, and sparking your thoughts. This doesn't make life easier in the sense of removing all challenges, but it changes your relationship to those challenges. Instead of an enemy, life becomes a conversation you're having with yourself. The net of Indra. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a beautiful image called the net of Indra. Imagine an infinite web stretching in all directions. At every intersection of the web is a jewel. Each jewel reflects every other jewel in the net. Move one and all are affected. Watts loved this because it shows how deeply interconnected everything is. Your actions ripple outward in ways you cannot measure. A smile at a stranger might change their day, which changes how they speak to someone else, which changes a decision that person makes, and so on, forever. So why interconnection feels like magic? When you start living from the understanding that you are part of a single living system, synchronicity begins to make more sense. Those coincidences aren't random. They're the system responding to itself. You are not bumping into strangers by accident. You're meeting other waves of the same ocean, crossing paths in a pattern so intricate no human mind could plan it. Of course the ego resists this. It likes being the main character. It likes the story that says, "I'm over here and the world is over there, and I have to control it to be safe." Watts would smile at this and say, "It's like the left hand trying to dominate the right. The separation is imaginary. Both are part of the same body. And once you see that, the game changes." This isn't just philosophy for late-night conversations. You can practice unity in the simplest ways. When you eat, notice how the food, once separate, becomes part of you. When you breathe, remember the air was in the lungs of trees just moments ago. When you speak, Feel the subtle way your tone and words ripple into someone else's mood. Every moment is proof that you are not an isolated thing. You are an ongoing exchange with everything around you. When you begin to live from this understanding, fear starts to loosen its grip. If you are the cosmos, how can the cosmos truly be against you? You may still experience pain, loss, and challenge. But beneath it all is the sense that you're still in your own hands. Watts might put it like this: you are the universe looking at itself, hearing itself, feeling itself. And when you know that, you can relax. Because you've never truly been alone. The next time you're outside, pick something: a tree, a bird, a passing stranger. And remember, this is not separate from me. Let that recognition be quiet but real. Because the more you practice this, the more you'll see the invisible threads tying everything together. And the more you'll understand that your life is not happening in the cosmos. Your life is the cosmos. Chapter 7. Living the Dance. What if your entire life, every step, every meeting, every twist and turn, has been part of a dance you didn't know you were already dancing? Not a dance you had to rehearse, but a dance where the music has been playing all along. And the moment you stop trying to control every move, you feel yourself in rhythm with it. Alan Watts would tell you, life is not a problem to solve. It's not even a journey to complete. It's a dance, and you are both the dancer and the music. Your inner state is the tone you set for the music. Flow is moving with the beat. Synchronicity is the playful way the universe responds. Imagination colors the scene. Unity reminds you that there's no you and it. There's only the dance itself. Living the dance is simply learning to let all of these pieces work together. Most of us are trained to treat life like a machine. Input enough effort, get a predictable output. But life isn't mechanical. It's organic. It's a conversation between you and the whole. When you start listening as much as you speak, watching as much as you act, you notice that life is already giving you cues. A door opens. A song comes on at the right moment. Someone you meet mentions exactly the thing you've been thinking about. These aren't just random events. They are steps in the dance, invitations to move in a certain direction. Living the dance doesn't mean being passive. The music doesn't play itself. You're part of it. You still take action, but your action comes from a place of harmony, not struggle. Think of a jazz musician improvising. They're not sitting out, waiting for the song to finish. They are fully engaged, adding their unique voice to the melody, but always listening to what the rest of the band is doing. That's how it works in life. You bring your energy, your ideas, your movement, but you stay aware of what the rest of the band is playing. Watts often compared living well to sailing. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You don't force the boat against the current. You work with it, reading the water, feeling for subtle changes, making small adjustments that keep you on course. The dance is the same. Sometimes life will spin you in a new direction without warning. Sometimes it slows down, inviting you to rest. Sometimes it speeds up, and you find yourself in a flurry of opportunity. Your part is not to resist, but to move with it, and to enjoy the way it changes the steps. One of the most beautiful things about dancing is that you don't have to know every step in advance. In fact, knowing too much can ruin the joy. In life, this means making peace with uncertainty. You don't have to see the whole path. You just need to feel the next beat. And when you live like this, the unknown stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like part of the game. Of course, all of this, the synchronicity, the flow, the joy, depends on the state you bring into it. If you let yourself get caught in the fear, resentment, or constant tension, the music gets harder to hear. This is why the inner state is the foundation. A calm, curious, trusting mind is like an instrument that's in tune. From there, every note you play blends more beautifully with the rest of the song. Here's a simple way to live the dance. Start your day in tune, and before you check your phone or rush into plans, spend a few quiet moments feeling gratitude, breathing deeply, or simply noticing that you're here. Look for cues. Treat each encounter, each twist in your schedule, as part of the choreography, and ask, what step is life leading me into right now? Playfully respond. Take action where it feels natural. Pause when it feels forced. Let go of the scoreboard. Stop measuring your day only by success or failure. Ask instead, did I dance with it? Alan Watts would often say, you are something the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is something the whole ocean is doing. And once you understand this, you realize you're not just moving to the music. You are the music, and every thought, every step, every laugh, every quiet moment. It's all part of the song that only you can play in the way you do. Stop trying to wrestle life into submission. Stop thinking you have to see the end of the song before you can enjoy it. Step into the dance that's already happening. Listen for the rhythm in your conversations, the synchronicity in your encounters, and the flow in your work, the unity in your relationships. Because when you live the dance, life stops being a problem to solve. It becomes a piece of music, one you were born to play.